we need a moment of realism because the stakes are high, and I want to put this in perspective for you. The presidency is on the ballot in November. But it's not just the presidency that's on the ballot in November. There are 35 United States Senate seats that are on the ballot in November. There are 435 seats in the House of Representatives on the ballot in November. There are 86 of 99 state legislatures on the ballot in November. There are 11 governors' mansions that are at stake. There are numerous state judicial and other state executive and local and county races that are on the ballot in November. This is a presidential election cycles are big. Some states have off-year elections. Some of them use odd-year cycles, but those are very small. A lot of them are in sync with the presidential election, and typically the party that wins the presidency does better down ballot. And our president yesterday decided to start trolling people online about delaying the election. Why? He is becoming the troller in chief. And whether you like the president or not, I think you got to question, why is the president in the midst of a global pandemic and economic meltdown trolling his critics online by saying he can delay the election, or we should delay the election? By the way, it's a sign of his increasing weakness within the party that Republicans in Congress overwhelmingly came out yesterday and said absolutely not. Normally, they don't even comment on his tweets, and now they're all rushing out saying, nope, we're not going to do this. That's an interesting sign. They're also being very vocal about spending all of a sudden. They're starting to care about debt and deficit again, which suggests they're starting to break with the president as their survival instincts kick in, and that increasingly suggests they think that he's not going to win in November. Whether he does or he doesn't is irrelevant to what they think. Perception matters right now, and right now, the fact that they're becoming so vocal and distancing themselves from him on a variety of these issues suggests they think there is trouble. And it's not just them. The president's own team thinks there's trouble. They've taken down his advertising. Across the nation, they've taken down all the president's TV ads. They want to reassess. Right now, Republicans control 59% of state legislatures. In 43% of the states, the Republicans control the state legislature and the executive, meaning if they want to rewrite districts right now, they could do so without suffering a veto. Democrats only control 31% of state legislatures and governor's mansions together. They control 38% of state legislatures, but don't have the governor's mansion. Whoever wins in November and wins the majority of states will rewrite the legislative lines for state houses, state senates, and Congress. There is a lot on the line. If the Democrats have a great showing in November, they could ensure that the Republicans cannot take back the House of Representatives for the next decade. You need to ponder that. You need to consider that reality because the stakes are high. And the president is trolling people about the election. You know, the data continues to show and has shown consistently that the American public would rather this president handle the economy than Joe Biden. The data has shown consistently, the polling has shown consistently, and this is across the board. The Democratic polling and the Republican polling shows this. It's not just the media polls you hear about. Behind-the-scenes polling on both sides shows that the president has an advantage on the economy. That's why the Democrats have spent so long talking down the economy, and then the virus happened. If the president can get through the virus, the president can win re-election. But the president has to get through the virus. The president has to, the president's got to find a way to look like a leader. Now, you and I both know that most of the leadership on the virus happens at the local level. It is governors and state boards of health that are mostly in charge of this. But there are things the president can do to look like a leader in helping with resources and the way he talks about it, in the stuff he says. And you and I both know a lot of the media won't give him credit for a lot of that stuff, but he can still transcend. He can transcend through his Twitter account. He can transcend through his press conferences. He can transcend through his ad campaigns. He can transcend through what he puts on social media beyond Twitter. And right now, what he's putting up is let's delay the election. And all that does is it riles up his opponents. And for the first time that I can remember in a while, has caused Republicans to rush to the nearest microphone and said, no, 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 we're not going to do that. There needs to be message discipline. And increasingly, it is obvious that there can't be message discipline because the president, who is the messenger for his campaign, lacks that discipline. And there are people now speculating, well, maybe he knows he's going to lose, and so he's just trying to cast doubt on all of it. Here's the problem. States are in charge of their elections, and many states are going to go to mail-in balloting because of the virus. So if the president is out there saying that mail-in balloting is bad and they're going to steal the election, and they're going to do it anyway, including in Republican states. I mean, Florida is a Republican state with a Republican legislature and a Republican governor, and they're going to do it. Will the president's supporters decide, well, the fix is up, I might as well just stay home anyway because there's no way I can win? If so, Florida is not going to be a Republican state next year. The governor will hang on because he won't be on the ballot. But the legislature? What about in Georgia? The Democrats are going to gain ground in the state legislature. The odds are they're not going to be able to take over the state legislature, but they're going to come close. And if you've got the president out there saying, well, it doesn't matter, the fix is in, the game is rigged, the deck is stacked, mail-in balloting, absentee balloting is going to be worked against me, are his supporters going to stay home too? Will enough of them stay home? I mean, there are ways to message this, and I'm baffled by what's happening with the president right now. I am genuinely perplexed. Does he want to win or not? And the problem right now is, does he want to win or not? And if he doesn't want to win, why is he sabotaging everyone else? Philip points out to me, as I'm sitting here talking, this is what happened with Stacey Abrams to a degree, or this is what a lot of people think. Abrams came close, but she spent so much time talking about election fraud. She spent so much time talking about the deck was stacked against him. You can go out there today and find voters who decided that they weren't going to vote because Brian Kemp was going to steal it anyway. And it had everything to do with Stacey Abrams talking so vocally about the election was going to be stolen and there was going to be fraud and there was going to be electoral abuse and there was going to be voter suppression. And there were a lot of voters who said, well, wait, I mean, if the Republicans, why even bother wasting my time? It's raining today. This could happen with the GOP. Someone's got to sit in the room with the president at all times at this point and just keep him focused. There are three things that matter right now: Donald Trump, the virus, and the economy. The polling actually shows that law and order doesn't matter right now. That law and order does matter, but not while people are focused on the virus. See, it's one thing for you to think an armed, crazed band of Antifa is going to come into your town and burn down Main Street. But it's a whole nother thing to think that a virus is going to get into your house and start killing off every member of your family. Mentally, which is worse to you right now? Which do you think is more likely? Because we're hearing story after story every day of the virus getting into people's households. I mean, Herman Cain is dead of the virus. People are paying attention to the virus. People are concerned about the virus. And what they know of the president is the mixed messages of the president and the going back and forth on whether or not the virus is real and whether or not to wear masks or not wear masks or have people socially distance or have kids go back to school or not go back to school. Parents are freaked out. Parents are stressed out. Teachers are stressed out and freaked out. Everybody is stressed out. Nobody seems to have a compelling message for them and know what to do. And the president isn't going out and exercising any sort of leadership. He's on Twitter saying, let's delay the election. Statutorily, by the way, he can't do it. It is a federal law. It would take an act of Congress to change the date of the election, and that's not going to happen. It would require a majority of the House and 60 votes in the Senate to overcome a filibuster. Why waste your time on inconsequential things? And there are a lot of the president supporters out there saying, oh, he's got everybody riled up. He's trolling. He's trolling. That's all he's doing. He's trolling. Look at all these people. They're spinning their wheels. They're focused on this. It's not going to happen. Yes, but you're the president of the United States of America. In a global pandemic, you're the president of the United States. In an economic meltdown. And you're trolling on Twitter. Look, I don't mean to spend this much time being this critical of a president I plan on voting for, but somebody's got to get a clue, and it's got to be him. This isn't helpful to him, but it's not just helpful to him. This is what I need you to see. It's not helpful to Republicans down ballot. The Republicans could very well lose the Senate. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is back in the hospital. The Republicans could lose the White House and lose the Senate. They could lose the House of Representatives by a bigger margin. More Republicans could lose in the House of Representatives. They could lose state legislatures such that they can't redraw lines more favorable to the Republicans, but Democrats can redraw lines more favorable to themselves. What is he? Is there even a strategy? I don't believe that there's a strategy at this point. And that's the frustrating thing, because it's bigger than the president. You've got people out there right now who want to burn down the Republican Party because they don't like that they couldn't get a job with Donald Trump in 2016. Now they've decided they hate him. A bunch of grifters have started these outside anti-Trump, supposedly Republican groups, and their solution for the Republican Party is to burn it all down. And they're pouring money in, claiming to be Republicans, and they're not, to destroy Republican candidates, and that's not good. In Kansas, there's a big fight over Chris Kobach and whether or not he should be the nominee. And I've always been a Chris Kobach fan. The problem is that he was the Republican nominee for the governor's mansion 2 years ago, and he lost. A Democrat is a governor in Kansas. And if the Democrats look like they're set to take over the Senate, there are a lot of Kansas Republicans who aren't conservative. They're moderate Kansas Republicans, and they're perfectly content voting for Democrats. And if it looks like the Democrats are going to take over the Senate, they may just hand Kansas to the Democrats too if Kobach is the nominee. And the Republicans have a chance to not have Kansas go to Kobach, but it looks like the Republicans in Kansas are suicidal at this point. This is the thing that perplexes me. I've got a lot of my conservative friends say, no, 2018 was an anomaly and that Kobach will be fine for the Senate. The voters who rejected him for the governor's mansion, they'll be fine to get him out of Kansas and go to Washington. Except I paid attention to Kansas politics for a number of years. I've got a number of friends from Kansas, and they all tell me that Kansas populist Republicans actually tend to lean left socially. I mean, Kansas Republicans tend to be more pro-abortion than not. Kansas Republicans tend to be very squishy on a whole lot of things, and they're perfectly happy to vote for what they perceive as a moderate Democrat over a super conservative Republican. Candidates do matter in these places, and I would hate to see Kansas, of all places, get a Democratic senator because the Republican Party primary process is so skewed towards people like me, and I'm a conservative, and I don't know that I could win in Kansas. And right now, I think it's better that we preserve the Senate majority of Republicans than have the most dogmatic conservative we can get. Because Kobach already had an opportunity to run statewide, and he did, and he lost to a Democrat. He put a Democrat in the governor's mansion, and now he wants to run for the Senate. I'm not sure it's wise to take that risk. Now, my buddy Jim DeMint, who I dearly love the man, he's all in. So is Ted Cruz. And maybe they see something I don't. What I've always seen is that Kansas Republicans tend to have a very screw you attitude with conservatives. I mean, I've got friends of mine who have been in the Kansas legislature who tell me that, I mean, Kansas is Republican leaders are super squishy, and they work better with the Democrats than they do conservatives. They work better with pro-abortionists than they do pro-lifers. And these are the sorts of Republicans that exist in Kansas, and that makes me nervous. In Montana, it looks like the Democrats could pick up that Senate seat. In Maine, it looks like Susan Collins could lose. In North Carolina, it looks like the Democrats could put that up, could win that. They're going to win in Colorado against Cory Gardner, it looks like. They could pick up the Senate. candidates matter, campaigns matter, and ultimately the president's message discipline matters. And right now, I don't see that message discipline. Someone please get through to him. And I realize some of you are going to go, well, you should. I've been saying it. I've been writing it. I've been saying it behind the scenes. And it makes me wonder if people are going into the president and telling him the best case scenario and not telling him the reality of the situation. The president, if he knows the reality of the situation, I think will change. But goodness gracious, man, something's got to happen. Because we are less than 100 days away, and right now nothing is changing, and something needs to change.
National connections, local